there are new properties, if we can use that term, coming to the market. And this next session, I'll sit here as well so I can be seen by the camera, but the next session is about E1. So here we go. We have 15 minutes.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Perfect. Can we play the video, please?
Thanks, Alberto. Let's go video.
Totally beyond the sport.
Today, the electric propulsion is the only solution for the future.
As Formula E and Extreme E1 promote electric cars, E1 wants to promote electric boats. Imagine the backdrop of a city, those powerboats racing full speed, head-to-head, tight corners. It's going to be a global success.
Our purpose is to make our seas, our lakes, our rivers cleaner.
Our ambition is to create the most spectacular race championship on water.
The concept of the foiling and how it's positioned, it's the first of its kind.
The shape inspires. It can really make you dream and look forward to the future.
Mobility will be based on acceleration and efficiency compared to speed and power.
E1 steer to push the boundaries.
One of the most important moments in racing history.
This is where E1 series really begins.
Don't act like I never told you. Never told you.
Great video, Alberto. Thanks very much for that. Over to you.
Thank you. Can we put on the presentation, please?
Okay, we can see that.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you all for the invitation and for May to give me the opportunity to come and briefly explain what E1 is. So as we saw in the video, E1 is the world's first electric race boat championship. So let's take a step back and see how this started. So in early 2020, during the first lockdown, our chairman Alejandro Agag and our CEO Rodi Bassa were having a conversation, and they realized that there was no platform out there to try to accelerate the adoption of electric mobility in the marine industry. And that's the idea that triggered the E1 series. And that idea became a reality some months later with the signature of the 25-year license with AUM that allowed us to organize and promote an all-electric powerboat championship. Next slide, please. So E1 series is based around four main pillars. Our legacy pillar that is focused on marine restoration and marine conservation, our innovation and technology pillar, which, as I mentioned, the idea is to provide that platform for the different players within the marine industry to come and test more sustainable solutions that can eventually be rolled out to the customers. A diversity and inclusion pillar. So the idea is to offer an entry point to those who traditionally would not have access to motorsports. And we would do that via our dedicated pilot academy and also with the structure that we have in our team. And then, of course, we want to do all this while offering a spectacle and a nice race weekend. Next slide, please. So this is Alejandro Agag. Some of you might know him as the mastermind behind Formula E and Extreme E. And as mentioned, when initially discussing the initial concept of E1, the idea came up of providing that platform in the same way that Formula E was created to accelerate the electrification or the adoption of electric vehicles in an urban space. The idea is to use that very same concept into the marine industry. Next slide, please. So as some of the main elements of E1 started to come together, we needed one main actor to anchor all of them. And that's how the Racebird, our boat, came into place. Can we put the same next slide, please? So the Racebird is the first hydrofoiling racing boat in the world. It was designed by a Norwegian designer called Sophie Horn, and it's inspired by the seabirds hovering over the water. Can we put the next slide, please? It has been developed with the support from some of the industry leading partners, with, for example, Mercury Racing developing the world's first electric outboard, and also Chrysler, one of the leading battery manufacturers that has been recently acquired by John Deere, developing our battery unit or the battery cell. It's capable of reaching a speed of 50 knots, and it needs about 14 knots to start foiling. Next slide, please. I wanted to use this image as well, I would love to hear your comments, but the design attracted some international media, with some people saying that it resembled the jam speeders of Star Wars because of its futuristic design. Next slide, please. Double click again, please. And again, please. So, as mentioned, we are due to start racing in spring of 2023. We achieved our second biggest milestone in March of 22, when we went from a concept to a prototype, and now we currently are at the testing stage where we're pushing the limits of the Racebird before we go into, well, we do the design freeze and we go into production. Parallel to that, we are building all the other elements of the championship, such as the TV product, the calendar, and the sponsorships. Next slide, please. We can skip this one. Can we go into the next one, please? So this is how we work. We're looking at having a minimum of 8 races in season 1, with up to 12 teams racing in a knockout style. Each team needs to have 1 male and female pilot that need to alternate in between series, meaning that a team that goes from qualification to the final, both pilots need to have raced the same amount of races. The idea, we're nothing like the traditional powerboat, offshore powerboating. So our racing will be more focused on a short and exciting type, more focused on skills than actual speeds, with the idea of showcasing the electric power and the range that the Racebird has to offer. Next slide, please. Additionally, as mentioned as one of our main pillars, we want to put the same emphasis on the off-water activities as we do on the on-water activities. And for that, we are designing what we call the Accelerating Festival, which would be the equivalent of the fan zone. And we want to use that to give a local flair to all our events, where we can, like, local partners can showcase the latest clean tech technology, use it for thought leadership conferences, and also try to showcase all the different efforts, sustainability efforts that the host city is doing. Can we get to the next slide, please? And finally, leveraging the current connections that we have via our sister cities, we forecasting that we could have a potential media reach. I apologize, it's missing a 1. It's 177 million on season 1. Next slide, please. I will be happy to take some questions now from the audience.
Any questions from the floor? Yep, a couple of questions coming.
Thank you, Alberto. What is the current situation with sponsorships and media rights deals? Where are you on all those kind of things?
In terms of?
for the series? Is there a title sponsorship already taken? Is there already media rights deals that you've been having tentative talks about? What kind of scale are we talking about here?
Right. So our broadcasting strategy is mostly free to air. And so we haven't finalized all the broadcasting deals. So because we're waiting until we complete the testing of the racebird, so we see the performance. So then we can have clarity on the length and the different formats. And as far as sponsorships, we have in different conversations. We mostly, at the moment, have the technical partners or sponsors as one of the main focuses is in developing the actual technology for the race.
Yeah, a question. My name is Tsukalas from Qatar Tourism. In terms of the race requirements or the race birds requirements to float, how deep need the water to be? Because obviously in Qatar the biggest stage would be probably the Corniche, and it's very, very shallow water. What is the minimum depth required?
We're looking at a minimum of 4 meters.
Other questions from the floor? I should go to the front again. No, I think, and obviously we're limited by the fact that we can't. We're limited by the fact that we can't include the online people in the question session. As you can see, there is interest in speech. I know we've had many conversations about this before. We are working with E1 in certain geographic regions, so everybody's open to a big conversation. This is a very exciting new format. It's going to absolutely touch, the sustainability message, and it sounds like a sales guy, but it's important that I emphasise that this is not a big event that is hard to access. It will be very accessible. In the interest of time, I'm afraid we will have to stop there. But thank you very much indeed, Alberto, for joining us. It's really always good to speak to you. Very clear presentation, and if there are follow-ups, we'll certainly get back to you.
Perfect.
Thank you so much. Okay, well, carrying on. Well done. Thank you.